Got it.
Got here too late.
All right,
Next time.
got it.
Does that mean I have to put it in the? Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for doing the books. I mean, I wanted to do it in service. We never, at least in my years of Rotary, we never did a service project in meeting. And I wanted to try it, and I think hopefully it was a success today. I know the kids will really appreciate all the books. So anyhow, thank you for all doing that. Make sure you do take a pad. If you just took a couple of sheets, take a pad on the way out, so that you can get rid of those. I don't have to carry all this home. Our speaker today is from One City Schools. Alice Erickson is the volunteer coordinator. We just asked her to spend a few minutes just sharing out with us what volunteering is like, what opportunities there are at One City Schools.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm not antisocial. I'm just going to Montana and help out with a knee replacement, and I'm trying to stay tuned for Thursday. And Gail, who is Vice President of External Relations, is supposed to be here, but she texted me this morning. She just flew back from the Charter School Conference in Denver, and she is sick as a dog. She did say the big takeaway there was they said if you have community like we have here wrapped around you, you just can't fail. So just a question, how many have been through school? Paul contacted me last summer, I think, and then we met when you helped out last summer with the open house. But let me just give you a little quick background of where the school's gone, because it's just kind of blows me away. I'm a volunteer myself. And watching this, I came in 2016 and it's part of it. So you all know that the new school is over on Broadway, the WPS building. Okay, 2015, 8 kids in the basement of Mount Zion, 1 teacher, that was it. Okay, today, over 500 kids. It's the flagship preschool over on Fisher Street now is 2- and 3-year-old preschool and 4K charter. Over at the main school is 5K, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. All elementary with 400 on the waiting list. They just started 6th grade this year and 9th and 10th, and those will go up in the next years. They've gone from the basement of the church to Fisher Street, which then was exploding in 2019 before the pandemic. They were back using the basement of Mount Zion again because it was so full. The first year of the pandemic, they rented over on Hoyer, an office building, and then Pleasant Roland came in with $14 million donation for them to buy the WPS building, and that is the final home for the school. Still big plans for the school. They want to add a big where the parking ramp is, replace that with a big athletic community center. So lots of fundraising. That's Gail's expertise, and she's going to do a whole 9 yards on that. For the school, it's a public charter, and it's chartered through the University of Wisconsin, not through the school district. So that means any child in Wisconsin can go. So there's kids from 32 zip codes coming, as far away as like Janesville, Belleville, Monticello, so all over the place. People move down from Fond du Lac to be able to go to the school. Meals, we are so fortunate. We have Chef Nick, who was the chef at the restaurant Magnus. Maybe some of you have been there. And then later the Stam House, where that started up, and then when that closed down with COVID, we got them. And so all the meals are nothing processed. It's all made there. Every child gets breakfast, lunch, and a snack. It's good stuff. They also have the school day is all year from like 8:15 to 4:30, and it goes all year round. They get August off. The kids like it enough that one kid said coming back in September that August was too long of a break. So it's not all academics the whole time. There's a lot of children whose families can't afford or wouldn't be able to do transportation or have the time to take them to extracurriculars. That's all wrapped in. It just goes right in your schedule. So They're called academies, and they rotate throughout the year, but there'll be things like they'll have an art teacher from the Madison, Monroe Street School of Arts. They'll take them over to the ice arena and teach them ice skating. They have a science person coming in. Like one day I walked in and there was a whole table. I thought it was models of clay that kids had set up. And when I got closer, it's like, oh my gosh, it was like lungs and hearts and stuff, you know. So and they got, you know, hands-on, got to touch them and everything. They do meditation, they do drumming, they do soccer, they do all different things. They have like 100 bicycles down in the garage. So if the kids are there early, they can ride a bicycle. What else do they do? They do one thing that's really neat that started in the last year is the Own It program. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. And it's for help to build Black wealth, but it's a collaboration with the, I forget the name of the realty. Alberto. I don't have that right. Alvarado, thank you. I always get that, you know. Anyway, they wanted to do something better to broaden the diversity of people getting homes. And anyway, they collaborate with one city. And so family, anybody that is connected with one city, a staff or family, you go through training for finance, you go through training for owning homes, and then after that, you get the certification, and you can apply, and you can get a $15,000 grant for your deposit. And so there's already been, it's either 6 or 8 families that have moved into a home, a first home. And what's really neat too is there's 32 of the realtors from this place that has signed on to donate a part of all their sales to go into this fund. So that's a really neat thing to do. Just more and more and more, but I don't want to take all your time. So volunteering, I'll go a little bit more on that. And then if you have questions, I can go. So volunteering, it's like, you know, Paula asked to come talk about that and things that groups can do. Oh my gosh. I mean, from the beginning, it's just, you know, there's no like, here's what we do in volunteering. You know, it's kind of like the school. It's just this moving target. I heard about the school when it was being formed, and I signed all the things to say I want to volunteer, you know, and never heard back. So 2016, you know, I heard, well, they got Fisher Street, that's the building there. So I rode my bike over on a Tuesday morning, knock on the door, and Sue Krug is there. She's one of the original board members. And she opened the door and we talked for like 2 hours. Well, it turns out Sue was only there sitting at the front desk, only Tuesday morning. I just happened to get the right day. And so we talked about, well, one city really needs a face at the door. You know, what if people come and nobody's there? You know, who can, you know, how do you get the ball rolling? So from there, we started the front desk program at Fisher Street, having a slew of volunteers come and sit at the front desk to at least answer the door and take notes and stuff. So, you know, like here, we want to receive things. And so that was the first year that was volunteering. The next year, Sue was retiring with her husband, and she's like, oh, I really don't want to do this anymore. Can you do it? It's like, you know, there's nothing to do. Okay, you know, I was still working, and it's like, okay. Well, then it just kind of blew up that year because that's when the, you know, they started getting chartered. And so then all of a sudden they started having monthly parent meetings. And so we helped with the kitchen and providing all the meals. Then they had the FAST program, Family and Schools Together, which is an 8-week program for family engagement at the beginning and the end of the year. And again, helping with those meals. Then we had the Mother's Day lunch and the Father's Day barbecue and graduation. It was more and more that we needed, you know, people to sign on and help with these meals and everything. And in addition, then volunteers started helping in the classroom and the academies. So it started growing fast, and it was getting pretty crazy. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, so the lights went out on volunteering because the school continued. The school shut down those months when everybody did, like March, April, May. But they reopened in September. So they just went right through COVID. They had hybrid, but they did have they did have kids in the school, and they wanted to just make sure everything stayed as safe as possible. They had to quarantine a couple of classrooms, but they never had to shut down the school. So anyway, we were sort of banned from helping out. They did let us help at the Fisher desk. And then there was a couple things over at Coyer where we helped with some inventory and behind the scenes, but not too much. And then last year, Broadway opened up and that we did a lot more helping. Again, it was all behind the scenes. We had groups that helped doing the move. This is like the third move, you know, and we helped with inventory and we helped all the kids get, last year, everybody got 2 full sets of uniforms because it's a uniform school. This year, there's too many kids, so everybody got 2 shirts. But, you know, that's thousands of pieces of clothing that come, and so then we get a bunch of volunteers together to sort them all out so that they can be distributed to the kids. So what else did we do? We do math packets, binding those. The summer before last, we A to Z books. They wanted to have a whole series of A to Z books for the volunteers. Since we were kind of still working from home, we downloaded 2,400 A to Z books and logged them all in. Now we're printing them, which is a big job because it's six printings per book. So then I opened up a little bit more. There was family fun, and Lori came out and helped family fun night, and that's where we met. What else? We had a field day this year that was a lot of fun. We had volunteers again where the kids had off for the whole afternoon, and there were games set up at different stations, and volunteers helped at different stations. We helped with, had a group in to come plant flowers. Open house, you helped with that, Paula. We most recently had tours. What we're working on right now, I'll just pass a couple pictures around. This is from last year. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and we collaborate with the Goodman Center. And I don't know if you're familiar that they provide these wonderful, all the fixings for a Thanksgiving meal to anybody in Dane County. So we've signed on. Last year we had 20 families. This year we have 65 families, but it's basically they get 2 big bags of groceries, and I mean turkey, the roasting pan, the pie, everything. And so we again got a group of volunteers that will be going over to the Goodman Center right before Thanksgiving, picking up, which will be about 130 bags of food, getting them. Thank goodness we now have vans at the school to move the stuff, taking back to the school, putting all the cold stuff in the freezers until Monday, and then we also solicit from our volunteers donations, and last year we were able to just get a great response, and we were able to buy really nice baskets, so we weren't just handing out grocery bags, we have these beautiful baskets and a thank you note or a happy Thanksgiving note, and then families come and volunteers help put all the stuff in the baskets and load them into the cars, and so a lot of happy stuff there. And we're tutoring now, so we're looking people, elementary school and then high school math. Maybe many of you might have seen Kaleem's social media that went out. Oh, anyway, well, if you did, they're not on his list yet. But looking for volunteers, and it's just been raining volunteers since then, which is good. It's a little rough for me because I'm a volunteer myself, so I'm scrambling. But anyway, we started a pilot program last year in tutoring because kids are so behind from the pandemic. So we had about 30 tutors last year that we did like March, April, May, June, and it really made a difference. It was really good. So now we're ramping up the program. It's going to be elementary plus middle and high school. And we hope to be restarting that soon. And then as for who we have for volunteers on my list, I have 180 volunteer friends. Last year, 70 volunteers were actually through the school helping in one way or the other. So we have a little thank you party at the end for everybody. We have about 50 tutors signed up. And, just things just are it's hard for me to say what's needed because it just changes. Just since Friday, what I got asked is one to restart reading to the 4K over at Fisher Street, to find somebody that knows ASL that can spend some time in the 3-year-old classroom, and then also a special student that needs to be helped at a library. instantaneously, I got 5 volunteers for that. I got 4 for the ASL. I mean, the volunteer family is just phenomenal for their response. It's just great. So for the future, all I can say is I never know what they're going to be asking for. And I expect that there's going to be more and more and more, seeing how it's the trajectory over the last, 6 or so years that I've been out there. With the athletic, and they have an athletic director, they have a volleyball girls league competing this year. They hope to get their own facility, and I imagine once they get the facility then and start hosting, there's going to be even a bigger need for people to come in. So that's my spiel. And thank you so much for the books. I mean, reading is so important, and for the children to get a treat like that is just marvelous. So thank you for making One City the first venture in this.
Question.
So how do you go about getting on like a volunteer list?
Give you a card.
There you go.
I'll put your contact
Sure.
information into our newsletter so that everybody has that. So it sounds like if you want to contact.
Yeah, and if you contact me, just mention that you're here at the South Madison Rotary School. Connor, isn't that where you're going by today? Do you want to, one of the big things at the school is expeditionary learning is curriculum, and part of that is the 5 habits of character. Schools pick what they are. And then every day, these are focused, I mean, from the little guys all the way up. And do you want to say what they are?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. For the upper grades, it looks like it'll be mostly math. In the lower grades, it's like literacy. And we're going to be sending out a Google form to people that want to tutor, and on it we'll be asking, what's your schedule for your period? We're asking for an hour a week, more if you want, and then what's your, what areas you want to work in.
So what is the curriculum? How is it different from like public school?
As I know, Gail should be here, but expeditionary learning, as I understand, is more cohesive thing where you start with a topic and then you explore that topic through math, through science, through all these things. And also just, to explore, to push yourself, to have risk, to experience the world. And then the little guys over in the Fisher Street, they're Auntie Play. I don't know if you've heard that. That's been at some of the libraries and stuff. And then again, that's to not put restraint on, or guide, do this, do that, but, have all these, boards and balls and things and, go play and just create.
And then as far as the waiting list goes, how do they, are they selected by like a lottery?
Yeah, it's the same as like the public school would be for their like magnet schools or whatever. So once you're in the school, you just if you keep re-enrolling every year, you're in, and then that also brings in your younger kids in your family.
I'll call you. I have so many questions.
And then, and then and then you have to reapply every year. If you're on the waiting list this year, that doesn't keep you on the waiting list for next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Alice, in the coming year, can you think of any group projects that might be developing?
You do school supplies or something like that, like that, stuff or.
That's interesting thought to propose.
Yeah.
Sure.
as a parent at that school, there is a parent liaison group, and this, I'm drawing a blank on her name right at the second. But the parent leadership team,
Oh, yeah.
thank you, Latoya Henderson, they could use, I think they're trying to coordinate how to support people with transportation. And it's not you all, other people drive, it's information about Lori Schwartz is driving this way and can we ride share kind of thing. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just saying that's one that I know is like people struggle with. They're trying to figure out how to support and help. And so if you were with Alice to support the school, or maybe there's a connection to the parent group, that the parent group has some ideas, which I brought forward, having a giveaway holiday paper. You know, we all have extra rolls of paper, or helping with other other things that parents want to exchange clothes, you know, every school year, at the end of the year, things like that are kind of parent driven, maybe not school driven, that a group could do as a one-time support thing. I don't mean it's stealing thunder, but I know that the parents are going to meetings and like, we have ideas and everybody's like, it's the school, and they have to focus on school, but there's other things that could be helpful outside of school that would support.
Yeah, I should go pictures. Yeah, good, thanks, Lori.
One last question.
What?
Tuition.
Free, yeah. It's a public school,
No transportation.
no transportation. People really want to go. Really? What's that? Pardon? Was it always a public school? The 2 and 3-year-old is a private preschool, but it is a charter, but it's a public charter. It's sponsored by the UW, and the acting president, Tommy Thompson, signed the final thing up to 12th grade last year.
Wow. Okay.
So the other thing they're working on also, Colleen is collaborating with Madison College, Oshkosh, Madison, to be able to get kids 30 credits by the time they graduate from associates.
The founder, I just remember reading about this a while back in a paper, and I was so impressed with the program, and that the gentleman went to the city of Madison or whatever for funding or something, and it got shut down.
Colleen went like 10, no, it must be 15 years ago. He closed Madison Prep, the Madison School Board,
Yeah.
and I was at the last meeting. It was at Memorial High School. It was packed until 11 p.m.
Yeah.
And almost everybody spoke in favor of it, but the school board had already pre-decided to have written treatises and then shut it down. So,
But
so he came back and started a little bit of preschool then.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yourself, the jelly. Yeah, jelly.
Yeah.
Have something for that kid. Here's the pen that was on the table. If you replace it, I'm already from the office now.
Thank you. I was going to make an announcement about that. And if you have a book still at your table, please put them in the box on the way out so that Alice can take those back to the kids. You can't keep them from yourselves. I know that everybody wanted to read them on their own there. I will say that I had a lot of fun shopping for the books. There was at just Barnes and Noble. It just, they have a whole section of books that are just, for the K readers. And I cleaned out a good section of them. So, 50 books. So anyhow, Adam, next week's speaker.
Next week, we will have Dan McCown here, who was a participant in the World Series of Poker. About poker itself and kind of overall makeup. So Rob Booth is next.
Great. All right. And Alice, again, thank you for being here. For all our speakers, we make a contribution to Polio Plus Fund, and so we'll do that in your honor as well. Thank you for being present in person, and I really appreciate everybody being in person to help with the project today. And remember, service above self. Have a great Rotary with everybody.
Yes.